Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be doing a top 5 video of what I feel like are the top 5 cards that had the most impact on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2017. They were meta-defining cards, cards that changed the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For better or for worse, but they had an impact on this game and will have an impact as we go into the new year of 2018. Now, please keep in mind, these are my thoughts and my opinions, and all I do is ask that you respect them. But please tell me down below what you feel like are the top 5 most powerful cards that we got in 2017. So without further ado, guys, let us get into today's video. So for my number 5, I was actually trying to figure out which card I really wanted to be at my number 5. And it took me some thinking about it, and I decided to put this card because of how many different OTKs and FTKs and how many different crazy plays I've seen ever since the Link format started earlier this year. How many just crazy things I've seen with this card being used in. And that is Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon on its own is not a powerful card, but when you combine it with other different cards and use it with double Firewall Dragon and triple Firewall Dragon, I've seen sometimes, when you see these weird crazy combos like that, it kind of makes you go, oh my gosh, this card's really broken. Firewall Dragon is a a good card still, but it's not as bad as double Firewall Dragon and triple Firewall Dragon. If you guys have been paying attention to the OCG recently, you will notice that they actually hit Firewall Dragon from 3 directly to 1 of because they wanted to try to get these Firewall Dragon loops taken care of, and they just cut it off at the head, even though I think this is really the first time in Yu-Gi-Oh's history we've actually done this necessarily, that they hit the main protagonist's card, being Firewall Dragon. They haven't really ever touched a main protagonist's card. Dark Magician, Blue Eyes never did that. Neos, some of the hero stuff, never really did that. 5Ds, you do see this exception to the rule. They didn't hit Stardust, even though people honestly wanted Stardust to be limited or hit completely and banned. But they did hit for a time Black Rose Dragon to 1 of. And even in the past OCG ban list, we saw another dragon from Arc 5 being, actually, this is a little history background, with Ancient Fairy being hit and banned completely in the OCG. So Firewall Dragon makes it at my number 5. So what is my number 4? It's kind of a tie here for what I thought was the number 4. That would be Masterpiece and Diagram. Diagram showed us the ability to pop cards and gain our effects off them. I can't tell you how many times I've seen other cards be popped because Diagram can pop cards and get effects off, and how that just helps with so many different strategies. I've seen Diagram and just Masterpiece in so many different decks over the course of the last year. It's kind of ridiculous. But Masterpiece on his own is he's a legit boss monster. He's something we haven't had in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I kind of compare him to some older players that haven't played against him before, to kind of like Dark Arm Dragon or Chaos Emperor Dragon. This big monster that is hard to get over that you play in your main deck. For the most part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history over the last couple of years, our boss monsters have been in the extra deck. Masterpiece has been in the exception to that rule, being a boss monster that we play in the main deck and who works to be this unstoppable killer monster. So Diagram and Masterpiece make it as my number 4 on this list. Some people may disagree and move them higher up on the list, or feel that there's other cards, but that's just my opinion on those 2 cards. So for my number 3, actually, I have a card that recently came out to us over in the TCG, and granted there are other cards that are integral to it, but it's Double Helix. Double Helix, I find, Spirals before Double Helix were a good deck, but they weren't broken. Spirals with Double Helix, on the other hand, OP, possibly tier 0, and amazing. We saw how powerful it took over the OCG, even though they hit a lot of cards over there, but we can see its flaws from playing over here in the TCG. Granted, before they hit Quick Fix and Drone to 1 of, you saw how broken that deck was as a tier 0 deck. It took multiple spots at YCS's, and it was very powerful. Granted, we're probably going to see Masterpiece get hit, or maybe Resort get hit, or something else in that nature get hit. Maybe even Sleeper, I've heard people say. It'll probably take another hit to put the deck down a little bit more, to be inconsistent and still be playable, but not as powerful necessarily. But Double Helix created all those problems and made a tier 0 a deck that was good and took it to the next level, really. The card after that I have is pretty much an archetype in general. I have to say that is my number 2 on this list, and that is Zodiacs in general. You could say Barrage, you could say Broadbull, you could say Trident, which I was thinking of just putting Trident on the list, but when I thought about it, and I thought about Zodiacs in general, and the different engines I always saw Zodiacs be playing, it was always like this little package of your Rapier, your Barrage, your Broadbull, and your Tridents. That's usually how I always saw it, in different little sections of different decks that people played it in, because you have to remember how widespread people just played Zodiacs in general. Zodiacs were in so many different decks earlier this year, before pretty much Konami just took an axe to the Zodiacs and just banned the stuff and got rid of some of the stuff. They were just in so many different decks. I couldn't go on a deck profile. I could go on different deck profiles of just casual decks, or just decks off the wall, and it's Zodiacs in it, Zodiacs in this, Zodiacs in that. They had such this, they were a good deck, maybe not tier 0, tier 0 in the fact that they were in so many different decks. Some people may disagree and say it was just a good tier 1 deck. Some people may say tier 0. I say it was somewhere in between, but they were meta defining, they changed the game, and they were just very powerful cards, and very splashable cards at that. The next card I have for my number 1 most impactful card from 2017, I feel that is the most impactful, Ghost Ash and Winter Cherries, or Ash Forehead as they say. So Ash Forehead is an amazing card. It's a great card. This card will be good in 2018, unless Konami bans it, hits it, something of that nature. You know what I'm talking about? It's so impactful. This card stops so many strategies, so many decks, is so bloody versatile. It's ridiculous. If you had told me 2 years ago that there would be a card like this in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, I would have said, I may have said, maybe the game will get fast by then and that card would be plausible, but the fact that Ghost Ash is so versatile, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a very powerful card. If you have the money to play them, you play them. You play them at 2, you play them at 3, it doesn't matter. You play it if you own it, because it's that good of a card, and it helps against multiple different strategies. However, and I have to say, even though I feel like it's the most generic, most powerful card of this past year, I have to admit, it does have a little bit of a downside. The game has gotten so fast to some extent that just stopping one thing in a combo doesn't necessarily mean you stop your opponent from making just as good of a combo in that turn. So against a rogue deck, Ghost Ash is amazing, but maybe against a meta tier 0 deck, yes, I stop their one play necessarily, but they can still continue to go off and make a very good strong board. So in the end, I just negged one myself to stop one thing, but they just made another powerful thing, if you know what I'm trying to say. And in that aspect, Ghost Ash does have a downside to it. Some people would argue, but I still feel like generically it's a very powerful card, and it leads into the discussion of, in 2018, will we see cards come out that counter hand traps, because cards like Ghost Ash are so powerful and so generic. So those are my top 5 cards that I believe had an impact in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2017. Different people, like I said, may have different opinions and different thoughts on what they feel are the top 5 best cards from the past year, or ideas and themes, I guess you could say. But like I said, these are my top 5. Tell me yours down below. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. So until next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling to all of you, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.